Make sense of where we are right now as best you can, and where's your head at about the 2026 class?
Yeah, we know the 2026 season has been a roller coaster. I think we know that. Now we're seeing kind of the roller coaster of recruiting. You pick up three commits, then you lose three commits. One is still out there, but he's probably not coming here. In Tico Crittenden, three-star defensive lineman, probably I would say Georgia Tech or Colorado or somebody like that, maybe Mississippi State. And then you lose Jay Timmons today, and then you lose to Darius Hughes early in the week. Both Darius and Jay were committed for quite some time, and you felt good about it as long as the product was. So I think you're seeing a lot of roller coaster effect. I think you got like Devin Carter came out and said, told me right after the game, four-star receiver, that hey, I'm locked in. I know the way they're practicing. I know the way they're playing. I think that kind of falls into what they did of making the decision of we're not going to make a decision until after the season. That leaves a lot of uncertainty with certain recruits, especially a guy like Tico. And then with Timmons and Hughes, it just leaves the uncertainty that he's going to be the guy there. And two, and more so with Timmons, there's a better product for the team that he's going to. If you're losing the higher rated guys over the guys that you're adding and subtracting, I don't think it really makes you feel good about kind of where it's going.
Yeah, it's a different video to discuss personal opinions on,
Yeah,
and we've done that on shows and other videos about what
right.
Florida State should do at the head coaching level. But let's just say, for example, hypothetical, that Florida State does retain Mike Norvell, and they want to announce that. Most importantly, Michael, let's say they beat Clemson this weekend, and Florida State wants to announce that Mike Norvell will be returning in 2026. Could that have any impact in getting some of these kids who decommitted back in the fold, like a Tico Crittenden, like a Darius Hughes, or today Jay Timmons? Or do you think once they made their decision, it really doesn't matter what Florida State does with Mike Norvell, and I'm just going to go choose a new destination?
I think guys that are committed like Ernest Rankings, Devin Carter, even Xavier Tiller, who I think could Georgia Tech could be involved. There. I think those guys, if you announce that, yeah, they're going to be. I think stick with them and they'll be okay. Now the other guys you mentioned, Tico, I could see coming back if he feels like it's a comfortable situation. But guys like Tadarius Hughes, Tadarius flipped from a to a school that's lost five in a row in Syracuse. So clearly he's not concerned about coaching pedigree or coaching whatever. So it's hard to see Hughes or Timmons for that matter because Ohio State's top of the board. He made it quick. That's why I wanted to get out with him, did a story with him. That's why I felt like, hey, this is trending towards Ohio State. Usually, when you make a decision that quick, it's kind of you're ready to move on. Now, if they win the rest of their games, maybe with those guys, one or two of those guys, that Hughes or Timmons, maybe that catches their eye and their attention, and maybe they're like, I believe in that. They believe in him. They're making an emphatic statement that hey, he's going to stay, then maybe they might rethink it. But right now, I'd say it's unlikely.
Let me ask you the opposite question. Now let's look at the other scenario. And Florida State has a rough game on the road at Clemson, and maybe at that point the university makes a decision or they make it known that they're going to be replacing Mike Norvell one way or the other. If a new coach comes to town in time before the early signing period, could that salvage Florida State's 2026 class?
It could, especially if you get somebody that's really a good recruiter. I'm not saying these guys are on my intel, but Jimbo Fisher, James Franklin, both of those are really good at recruiting. So they could certainly repair the class, and those kids might decommit. There might be some kids that decommit. They're in the class or not in the class from other schools that look at FSU like, hey, you know what? I want to see this. I know what those guys do. I know how those guys can build programs. I'm going to listen to see what they do before I make a decision. So it definitely opens up possibilities. It just depends on what your mindset is. I think a lot of FSU fans are kind of like, we would like the latter probably, just because they see what's going on. Like I said, I'm not to be dead horse. I mean, yeah, you're adding three prospects. You're also adding three stars, and then you're losing two high four stars. So it's just a matter of perspective of what you want and how you feel, about Norvell in the future as far as recruiting, because that's been a kind of a bugaboo throughout this whole transition of the 6 years of acquiring talent.
So here's my last question. This is totally your opinion. You've got a lot of openings around the country, a lot of
Hmm.
job openings. I don't think we're done yet. As we're recording this, Wisconsin just said they're not going to make a change, and Luke Fickell's going to come back, and
Okay.
they're going to dump a lot of money into that program. But we all know in the Southeast, there's a ton of openings. Penn State's open. There might be some more on the way. Do you think that this is a recruiting cycle where some kids are going to take this into enrollment in January or the old school signing period in February because there aren't enough answers at LSU, Florida, Auburn, and other places, Michael? Could it be that some kids say, I don't have enough information and I know I want to go to one of these schools, but
Yeah.
I haven't met the new coach yet? Could it go like that?
Yeah, I think it's going to go late. I think you're going to see a lot of decommits type thing. I'm not going to say there's going to be a lot of flips, but I think it'll be a lot of decommits to make sure, hey, is this the guy for me? I think you're going to see a lot of that through this process, not just impacting FSU, but just schools in general across the board. Certainly LSU is a premier job. I personally think one of the best job that I've seen out there that's open in the market. I think certainly Penn State's a very attractive job. But thing is, too, none of these, in my opinion, none of these schools are going to be able to say who their head coach is, whether it's Florida, Penn State, LSU, any of those 7 schools that have openings. Auburn. I think it's very unlikely they announce these, who the coach is until probably December or after these seasons, because a lot of these teams are in the playoffs, and so it's hard to see that development happening until around December. So I think it's going to be a very busy December. It's going to be a very exciting one, and certainly one that keep using this word, roller coaster is the best way to describe what's going on.
Yeah, that's where it feels like we all are right now, which
Yeah,
is when you're on a roller coaster, that means you're not driving the roller coaster. That's somebody in a dark room with a control switch. So
yeah.
we're all on this ride together. Head over to warchant.com for the latest insights as we ride the coaster, decommits and commits, all on the premium recruiting board. Michael Langston, Matt Lasser have all the intel for you there. It's $1 for your first week at warchant.com. And I will tell you that your first month, 6 weeks at warchant.com is going to be really, really interesting. So support us over there. Michael, thank you for the time as always.
My pleasure.